For the past few years, I have been participating in the Three Rivers Homestead Pantry Challenge, and it has been really great for our family, so I decided to do it again this year. Make sure you check out Three Rivers Homestead and her Pantry Challenge videos. They are really, really great. She goes more in depth and shares like the actual cooking and specific recipes for homestead cooking and more like from scratch cooking. She cans and preserves a ton more than I do at the moment. I'm hoping to slowly work my way up to preserving a lot more. I previously did a video, so make sure you check that one out, on going into my pantry and getting out specific items or categories of items to use up, and I gave y'all some ideas on how you can use up the items that are in your pantry and freezer. I have been doing really good on using up the items, and I think at the end of this video I'll show how it's looking right now. I do go grocery shopping still. I didn't make that a rule for mine, like no grocery shopping at all. I don't like to get like completely out of things. I don't know, that's my personality. But basically, my rules for this pantry challenge is just going to be to use up as many things in my pantry and freezers as possible by the end of February. So basically, if you're doing a pantry challenge, you make your own rules. Don't go grocery shopping for 2 weeks, or just get like dairy and fruits and vegetables, or just make sure you shop and use as much in your pantry and freezers. So that video was more on just like all types of pantry and frozen items. This video is going to be specifically about the items that I preserved from last year's garden and ideas on how I like to use them up, or maybe a few things that I'm going to try. So if you have those items in your pantry or freezer, then you can try these out. If not, you can get some meal ideas, and I will link all of the recipes down below if I don't say like kind of specifics on how I do it. Some things aren't like a measured recipe, they're just more ideas, but if there are specific recipes, I will put those in the description box. So let's go over the list of things that I preserved last year. I canned pickles. I did 3 different recipes, just regular dill, bread and butter, and then spicy dill. I did canned jalapenos, canned salsa, and then the rest of it is just frozen stuff. So freezer strawberry jam, freezer raspberry jam, frozen corn. I did both on the cob and not on the cob, and I will talk about how I liked all of these things as well. I did frozen zucchini and yellow squash. So both the zucchini and yellow squash I blanched and cut up and stored in freezer bags, and then also with some zucchini I went ahead and shredded it and put it in quart size bags that were like pre-portioned to use for bread. And then I also froze peppers, and I made elderberry syrup and then put them in ice cube trays and froze those, and then just put the ice cubes in a bag, and then frozen blueberries from my dad's garden. All right, starting off with pickles. So I'll go over my recipes, but my dill pickle recipe, this is the second year that I've been doing this. We really love this recipe. And then I did spicy dill pickles for the first time, and they're quite spicy. I used peppers from my garden and dill, and then a bunch of spices from a recipe, and they are quite delicious as well. I make bread and butter pickles, but I don't like those, and nobody in my family does either, so I give those away to my grandma. She loves them. Actually, I think I gave a jar to my other grandma too when she came to visit. So what we use pickles for, I mean, obviously you can use them for snacking. Sandwiches and burgers are really good. I really want to try these smash burger tacos. That sounds really good. And then in my experience, anything that uses pickle relish, you can just chop up into and like dice the pickles, and you can use that instead of pickle relish. I really like these Big Mac bites, which are basically like hamburger meat and cheese and some like ketchup and mustard, and then you chop up pickles. I think that's everything that's in them. And then you put them in like mini muffin tins, and they're just like a little bite, and they're delicious. So moving on to canned jalapenos, I only did probably 3 jars of this, and that's probably the perfect amount. I think this is our last jar for our family. We don't eat a ton of canned jalapenos, but they turned out really great. This was my first year doing it. So I was super excited about these. Again, these are good for sandwiches, burgers, tacos, pizza, and then we also like to make a tater tot bowl, which basically you make tater tots, and then any kind of ground meat, so ground beef, ground turkey, sausage, and then put any toppings that you want. We like jalapenos, and then maybe like onions and other types of peppers if you want, and then cheese. Did I say cheese? And then sour cream or ranch, just whatever anybody wants to put on them. All right, now here we are to canned salsa. The first year that I made this, we've liked it both years. The first year that I made this, it wasn't as spicy as last year. It is quite spicy this year. I used some of the red chili peppers that I grew in my garden, and that made it quite hot. But we like chips and salsa, and then we've also been liking mixing salsa with sour cream. Again, with the spicy, it kind of tames it down a little bit, but it tastes delicious. And this salsa and sour cream sauce also goes on this new recipe that we just tried, and it is really good. It's called... what's it called? Turkey sweet potato skillet. So you chop up sweet potatoes and cook those, and then ground turkey, and then I think it has black beans, and then you do tomatoes and green onions, and then the salsa and sour cream sauce. It is really, really, really good. And then anything that you would use salsa for, so tacos, quesadillas. I'm sure I'm missing some things, but salsa. Okay, moving on to freezer jams. So I've got strawberry and raspberry are the 2 that I did last year. I did quite a bit of both. I think this year I'm going to lessen the batches of each of them and then try 2 new freezer jams. I'm going to try peach, and then I'm also going to try blackberry, because we do love both of those types of jams, and so I want to have maybe like 4 varieties to have, but you can use freezer jams for lots of things. Let's see what I wrote down. It's great in plain yogurt to flavor it. I like Greek yogurt, or you can flavor like plain ice cream with it. It's really, really good instead of syrup on like waffles and pancakes. Also good on biscuits and toast. Scones, I've really only made scones like 1 time. They're delicious, but they're a little bit more work. And I made like a fake clotted cream, and it was delicious on the scones with some jams. So good. And then, of course, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or I have a few kids with allergies, so we just like jelly sandwiches sometimes. Those are good. And then I have made grilled cheese with blackberry. As I was thinking of ideas, I remembered this, so I'm going to try it with strawberry and raspberry. But I've made a grilled cheese with blackberry jam before, and I think I used Gouda cheese. You could really use whatever kind of cheese you wanted. But it was so good. So I am going to try it with the strawberry and raspberry and see how it tastes. But that's an idea. And then another one that was kind of like adding sweet to a savory thing, I've only also had with blackberry jam, but putting it on top of steak. It was so good. Like I think steak... And then it was blackberry jam, and then some like, I think crumpled goat cheese, I think is what it was that we used. But some, like some type of crumbled cheese. I know there's another one that you can use, and I can't think of it right now. But super delicious. So I'm going to try that with raspberry and strawberry. And then you can also make homemade popsicles. So you just thin the... jam down a little bit and put them in your popsicle molds. And then on my last video, somebody suggested using it as salad dressing, which I think sounds delicious. I have yet to do that. I've got to get some salad from the store, but that sounds delicious. And then crepes also. I forgot that in like the breakfast category, but you can put them on crepes. Okay, the next one is frozen corn. And this year I left it on the cob like this. So I blanched it and then I wrapped each individual one in plastic wrap and then put them in a freezer bag. And then I also cut it off of the cob and froze it in freezer bags. And so this is the only bag that we have left of corn. The corn that's cut off, we loved that, and we're not a huge fan of this. I don't know, I think it just tastes a little too watery. I don't know if that's, yeah, so I probably won't be doing it on the cob this year. I may have just done it wrong, but I think I'm gonna take a break for this year of doing it off the cob or on the cob and just do it off the cob. But of course this you're just gonna use as like a side, and then you can use the corn off the cob as a side. We also like to put it like on tacos. It's really, really good to do that. And then you can also make a really yummy corn casserole with Jiffy Mix. It is delicious. I'll link a recipe. Okay, moving on to zucchini and yellow squash. So the first way that I preserved this was I cut up zucchini and squash and blanched it and put it in the freezer bag. And then the second way is I shredded zucchini and put them in quart-size bags, perfect size for making bread. So this way, I didn't love it. It's not the same as fresh zucchini and squash. I think really the only way maybe that it would taste okay is putting it in like a casserole. So I'll link a casserole down below. But I am not going to be doing this again this way. So it was a huge bummer. I think maybe in the future when I get a freeze dryer, is that what you call it? Then I might try to do that and like you can snack on them. But I'm not a huge fan of the frozen like this. I don't know, maybe tell me what I'm doing wrong. This, though, worked out perfectly. I just kind of let it, okay, so this one's been in the fridge overnight, so it's breaking apart. So I let it thaw overnight and then on the counter just a little bit before I make the bread, and it works great. It's worked great. So I will continue to do this. And we like just plain zucchini bread, but you can also add things in. Chocolate chips is always probably the favorite, but I think you can add like nuts and any type of fruits in there as well, which would make it just a little bit extra yummy. All right, next we have frozen peppers. So the best way that I found to preserve the peppers was to go ahead and just pre-chop them, and I put them in like bags specific to, you know, their pepper type. You could do batches where it has like a bunch of peppers all together, but I didn't want to mix like the hot peppers and the sweet peppers because if we didn't want hot or whatever. Anyways, so this works really well to just, fry up in the pan and use in stir fries, or you can put it in, I'm losing the word, omelets, or like a fried rice type of thing, or anything that you're going to use cooked peppers for. Those are really the things that we use cooked peppers for. But this method worked out really well. I will say there was one pepper that turned like green in the freezer. It was the lemon peppers. They're spicy yellow lemon peppers, and then when I froze them they like turned green, and I'm not really sure why they did that, but I don't know about that. Okay, next we have frozen blueberries. So this bag, as you can see, has been eaten down, but we just put them in like quart-sized bags. We do not wash them before. We'll wash them when we get them out. And my kids will just eat them frozen, or they'll eat them after they've been thawed. They're really, really good in a fruit salad. My favorite combination is, what is it? Strawberries, blueberries, pineapple, and mandarin oranges. All of those together, really, really yummy. You can also use them in breads, like a lemon blueberry bread, or blueberry, or probably even like zucchini bread. You could put them in that. Make blueberry muffins or pancakes, and of course you can use them in shakes. Okay, my last thing is going to be elderberry syrup. So this was the first year that I did this. As I'm gardening and doing more research and reading lots of things, I was like, hey, that looks like a tree that is in my backyard. When I was looking at elderberry, and I was like, that is an elderberry tree. So there was just like a couple growing in my backyard, so it was amazing. So I just made elderberry syrup. You got to do it a certain way. You got to make sure you cook it so that it's not like harmful. But I just made the syrup, put it in ice cube trays, froze them, and then put them in a bag. And then I just get out a few ice cubes at a time and put them in a jar in my fridge. And I will just take like a spoonful often, especially when I feel like I'm getting sick or I am sick. You can also put them in smoothies, and some people said you can use it on like your yogurt, ice cream, and oatmeal. I don't particularly love the flavor. It is sweet, but it's not a flavor that I like, so I probably won't be trying it on those. Thank you all so much for watching. I am going to show in just a second the tour of my pantry and freezers on what they look like near the end of this pantry challenge. Thank y'all again so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments anything that you have learned in preserving these types of food, or let me know some of your favorite things to preserve and eat from your garden. Thank y'all again, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. I'm really happy with the amount of food that we're using up. Even our fridge is showing signs of us doing this. So here is the pantry now. Like I said, I'm really happy with how we're going. I need to definitely use the rice some more, but this top shelf is looking good. Like I said, we obviously still live here, so we've got to keep some stuff. This bin is pretty minimal. I'd probably keep it like this, and we're getting low on like the chip bags. We used a lot of stuff in this corner, and we just have bread in there. Used a lot of stuff there, and we used a lot of stuff in this dinner bin. I'm very happy about that. Need to use up a little bit more in here. That's empty. This snack one is pretty empty as well, and that's just for potatoes. I will be working on, for the last few weeks, baking some more bread and using more baking stuff to kind of clean that out and get rid of the stuff that I'm not going to use in the future. The cans, we used up a lot of stuff, and I'm planning on using the rest of them by the end of February, so I'm really happy with that. Our snack area, of course, is still going to have snacks, but it's a little picked through. Our freezer upstairs has smoothie stuff, and I've been getting good at making smoothies for the kids and I, so I'm planning on using most of that up. And I did make some popsicles from the jam. This one has just like almost all jam. The kids like it better like that, but it helps me use up the jam, and they love it. So those were really good. Then it's got breakfast and lunch stuff, so it pretty much looks the same. The one downstairs is looking really good. I still need to make some more zucchini bread and use up a few other random things. I've used up a lot of my meat. I just have a few left. And the zucchini, I'm going to try it one more time, and maybe in a casserole. If I don't like it, I may put it out in my compost, and then I at least can use it there. I don't know. I don't want it to go to waste, but it can be used in the compost. Everything else is looking pretty good, and we're just working on using up some more jam.